All right, so we just heard you say that the Cowboys trust Dak more than they ever trusted Tony Romo. I found that surprising. Why is that?
No, well, I posed the question earlier to the guys, and this is how it began. Is basically I posed that question to the staff with the Dallas Cowboys, and not just the staff, but some of the players around them. And my whole point was, Dak had some warts, as far as throwing the ball, passing the ball, and being a pocket passer. I've always felt like there's been some limitations, and I felt like, for the longest time, Tony Romo, let's call it what it is an absolute better passer in the pocket than Dak. And I said to those guys, I posed that question, hey, listen, Tony's a better quarterback and has been. And I played with Tony. I know how good he is as a football player. And these same people that I've been talking to within this organization said, yes, Tony probably was the better quarterback at the position. But there's something about the intangibles that Dak Prescott has. There's something about the leadership. There's something about the it factor that he has as compared to Tony. And it's totally different, and it's something that we truly believe in. And these are questions I've asked not only to some of the players within that organization, but I'm talking about the staff. And when you really want to know about a guy, you ask the training staff, you ask the equipment guys, you ask the people within that organization, the ownership, you ask them those questions, they'll tell you the same thing over and over again. Yeah, Dak Prescott has these warts, but there's something about this kid that we truly, truly believe in. He is a leader of men, and we will get to the promised land with him. And again, hey, I was on the opposite side. I was truly on the opposite side of Romo was the better quarterback, and this is the feedback that I've got.
Well, Max and Darren, and work with me on this because I want to tell y'all a little story. Last year, night before the AFC Championship game, Robert Kraft, the owner for the New England Patriots, invited me to their AFC Championship party. Wasn't any of the players there, anything like that, just him and, a bunch of folks that were there. Tony Romo was there with the great Jim Nantz and others. And talking with Tony Romo for the first time in my life, I mean, I got to tell you, his personality was electric, fun-loving, really nice guy, the whole bit. That's the deal. I throw that story out because I think it's important to recognize, Darren, what you just said. People are looking at Tony Romo as, this guy that's a nice guy, whatever, and with Dak, you see a leader of men. I can believe that. But here's where I think it's important to point out. Dak gives you the impression that he's there, he's about his business, and the team itself, he prides himself on being that leader assigned to galvanize the troops and maximize whatever potential exists out there for us to go out and grab whatever we're after. Tony Romo is a guy that comes across as a very nice guy, but obviously has his select clique that he vibes with, and that's about it. I could see how somebody could jump to that conclusion. Having said all of that, that is the only excuse that anybody can have to me to tell me that Dak, we believe in Dak more than we believe in Romo. Because as much as I like Dak, and as much as I want Dak to get paid, and as much as I want him to be successful, even though I don't wish successful for them nauseating Cowboy fans, the bottom line is Dak Prescott, from a talent perspective, from a passing perspective, is not better than Tony Romo.
Absolutely not.
He's not better than Tony Romo.
I agree.
Look, this is something that Bill James, the godfather of sabermetrics, talked about or wrote about in the Historical Baseball Abstract Volume 1, I believe it was, guys, in the mid-'80s. He called it the BS dump. Wherever we want to kind of put our subjective feelings about someone, when we want to ignore what, the numbers say, for example, we just claim, we assert it, and someone gives us this feeling, and we give someone credit for it. So you have to be careful, I think, Darren, with this kind of stuff generally. However, sometimes that stuff applies. And Stephen A., I got to say, the players that Darren talked to, I get it. I get the same feeling from Dak. And while we're playing armchair psychologist here, let me just say, I think the difference is, this is just, maybe it's my BS dump as a media guy with some distance from this. Tony Romo always looked to me like a guy, and he's a great broadcaster, like a guy with an ego that was big enough to play quarterback, but the story was about him. If that meant the game-winning touchdown drive or pass, that's all right. If that meant not holding the snap so he has to try to run it in and they wind up losing the game, I'm not saying it's a conscious thing. I mean, this is his personality. That's the way it was going to be. Dak strikes me as the kind of guy who, with the fate of the universe on the line, will get it done. Every other moment up to then, you'd rather have Tony Romo. But with the fate of the universe on the line, Dak's got that thing about him. And to me, it appeared obvious from before his first official game, still in the preseason of his rookie year. I'm willing to acknowledge that may all just be my own kind of gut nonsense. But I understand, Darren, when you made that comment, I understood what you meant and what the people you talked to meant.
Yeah, hey, listen, and I was there when Tony Romo came into the league his first year, and we had 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Tony Romo comes in, gets drafted, and he walks in the locker room the first day. He's the best quarterback on the field, period. He's the best quarterback on the field his first day he steps in as a rookie. And I've always been, and you guys know me, you guys used to call me his defense attorney over the years. Every time he made a bad play, I'd be defending him. You guys would, come at me and all that. I've always felt Tony Romo was one of the best pure passers in the league. And I've always felt like they had a chance to win with Tony Romo. And that's the way I came about it. But when you ask the question, I pose those questions to those within that organization. They say, yeah, Tony's a great passer, was a great quarterback. But this kid, number 4, this Dak Prescott kid, is going to lead us to the promised land because they have faith and they believe in him. And that says a lot to a guy that when I watch him play and I say, well, there's a lot of warts with Dak, but he's a leader of men.
Let me tell you, listen, I give him credit where credit is due because Dak does come across as a leader of men. But let's just pump the brakes just a touch.